Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're diving into a really powerful idea called supported decision-making. It's a whole different way of thinking about how we can support adults with disabilities in making their own choices. And honestly, it could be a total game changer.
So let's start with this question, because it really gets to the heart of the matter. It's that delicate dance, right? How do you give someone the help they need, but at the same time totally respect the right to be in the driver's seat of their own life?
And that leads us straight into this classic planning dilemma. You know, when someone you care about needs help, your first instinct is to jump in and fix things. But the real challenge is figuring out how to structure that help so it empowers them instead of taking away their independence. Yeah, the whole goal here is to find that perfect balance. Sometimes the traditional ways of helping can be a little, well, heavy-handed. They can end up being way more restrictive than the situation actually needs. What we're really aiming for is to boost independence, not shrink it. So, if the old ways aren't always the best fit, what's the alternative? Well, that's where this supported decision-making model, let's just call it SDM, comes into the picture. It offers a really powerful and flexible approach.
So what is it, really? Well, at its core, SDM is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's not about someone else making decisions for an adult. No, it's all about that adult getting help from people they trust so they can make their own decisions. It's a team effort.
And this quote, this right here, is the absolute key. It's the most important thing to understand about the entire model. Unlike a lot of other legal tools, the person with the disability always keeps the final say. The supporters are there to help and advise, but they do not take over. That's the crucial difference.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how does this actually play out in the real world? Let's break down what this kind of support really looks like day to day.
What's so cool about this is how practical it is. Supporters can be like translators for confusing jargon, or a sounding board to talk through the pros and cons of different choices. For example, imagine someone is looking at a super complicated medical form. The supporter doesn't just grab it and fill it out for them. Instead, they sit down and go, okay, let's tackle this beast. This first part is just asking for your address. We can do that. They help organize the information and then help that person communicate what they decided.
Now, one thing you've got to know is the legal side of things. Some states have actually passed specific laws that officially recognize SDM agreements, which is great because it gives you a clear set of rules and forms. But even if you're in a state that doesn't have a specific law, you can often still use this model. It just means you might have to do a little more explaining when you're dealing with, say, a bank or a hospital.
To really get why SDM is so different, it helps to put it side by side with some other planning tools you've probably heard of. Let's see how they compare.
Just look at this table. It makes it super clear. With supported decision-making, who holds the final authority? The individual. Period. But with a power of attorney or a healthcare directive, you're actually transferring that authority to someone else, an agent for certain situations. See the difference? It all comes down to who gets to make the final call.
And here's a really important point. These things aren't an either-or. You can absolutely mix and match. Think of it like a toolkit. Maybe you use an SDM for most day-to-day choices, but you also have a power of attorney set up just in case for a specific financial thing. The best approach is always tailored to the person's actual needs.
All right, let's bring this back to you. How can you figure out if SDM might be a good fit for your family, for your situation? I'm going to walk you through a few questions to help you think it through.
First question to ask yourself, when that person is faced with something complex, like a lease or instructions from a doctor, does it make a huge difference if someone just sits with them and patiently breaks it all down into simple terms? If the answer is yes, that's a huge sign that the support part of this model could be a perfect fit. Okay, next up, communication. Can the person express what they want? This doesn't have to be with words. It could be nonverbal. It could be with assistive technology. It doesn't matter how. As long as they can get their preferences across, SDM is designed to respect and amplify that voice.
And think about the scope of help that's needed. Are you looking to help out with, say, medical appointments or managing a budget, but not take over their entire life? If the support is needed in just a few specific areas, SDM is great because it's so flexible. It's not an all-or-nothing deal.
And last but honestly, this might be the most crucial piece of the puzzle. Is there a support network? SDM is literally built on a foundation of trust. You need to have people in that person's life, family, friends, whoever, who are committed to playing that supportive role without taking over.
So what's next? If you were just nodding your head yes to those questions, the path forward is actually pretty clear. Step 1 is just to reflect on all this. If it feels right, step 2 is to start thinking about making it official. And step 3 can be as simple as filling out a questionnaire to create a custom agreement that spells out exactly who the supporters are and how they're going to help.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. At the end of the day, this isn't just about legal forms or planning tools, it's a whole philosophy of support. So ask yourself, what does true empowerment really look like for the person you care about? Maybe, just maybe, it looks less like taking the wheel and a lot more like being a trusted co-pilot, making sure their voice is always the one guiding the way.